All right, everybody, welcome to the Jungle Riverfront podcast, brought to you by the Blue Wire as well. Let's cut right to the chase. I'm not here to screw around today. Owen and Caroline Palmer. The Bengals stink. Jets 39, Bengals 38. Zach Taylor, hot seat, is on incredibly fire. His days seem to be numbered, and the Bengals, after we said last week, saved the season. My headline in my notebook this week is Bengals botched the season. 38-9, 38 loss to the 0-7, as we should also lead with New York Jets, a team that had not scored a touchdown in 2 weeks, scored 39 points against the Cincinnati Bengals yesterday. Not a lot of positives out of this game, but Caroline, how you doing first? Before I know we kind of just jumped right into things, but here to talk about some of the Bengals after we were so happy last week.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I feel extremely let down. Like, I think that it's unfortunate because I feel like it's always one step forward, three steps back with the Bengals this year. Like, you get some type of momentum rolling, and then all of a sudden it just disappears. And I feel like that's a lot of what it was like this week. But honestly, like, I would even argue that game didn't really fall apart until the fourth quarter.
Mhm.
And it was literally just an entire unit collapse for about 10 minutes. And it was extremely frustrating to watch because once it started, it was kind of like, "Oh my god, there's no saving this."
Yeah,
Like, you could tell almost right away when the collapse started, and there was nothing that was gonna be able to stop it from happening, and no offense to the New York Jets, I have multiple family friends who are Jets fans, and if you're listening to this, I'm sorry, but we made the most incompetent team in the NFL look like a competitive team yesterday, and that is where I just my mind can't comprehend that still.
yeah. It doesn't make sense though. Defense actually looked kind of solid in the first quarter. The Bengals were up 10-0. And then really, from my vantage point, the wheels kind of started to come off towards the end of the second. They held the Jets to a field goal up 24-13 at the half. Second half, Jets opened the half with a 11 play field goal drive, 24-16, and then the Bengals scored a long touchdown drive of themselves where they moved the ball at ease. Run game was working great all game. It was 31-16 going into the fourth quarter, and here's where the wheels fell off. Bengals score one touchdown in the fourth, Jets 3. The Jets converted some 2-point conversions. It got up to 38-24 again with time left in the fourth quarter, and I kind of thought we could rest on our laurels here a little bit. Too bad the Jets then went on a 2-minute and 29-second drive where they carved up the Bengals. The Bengals then get the ball back up 38-32, where I believe this is where we circle the dime. Zach Taylor has lost his job with the Cincinnati Bengals. This sequence of plays, you have the ball left in the fourth quarter. You're up by 6. You get the ball back with 7 minutes and 52 seconds left, and you pass the ball 3 times instead of running the ball all game, which was a successful. You'd run the ball. You'd finally committed to the run. You finally had some great touches. Samaje Perine had his best game in a couple
Mhm.
years. Chase Brown had his best game of the season, in my opinion, 2 touchdowns. And you completely stray away from that. 3 straight passes. You give the ball back to the Jets, who, like you said, were incompetent, but looked like a competent team. Went on a long touchdown drive and let the Bengals get the ball back with around 2 minutes left. And that was that after it is. So I think it's pretty unacceptable how all of this works. But first and foremost, we'll get to the poor decision making, I feel like, at the end of the game, offensively wise. But gosh darn it, this defense sucks.
Oh, man, I was just like, you look at games across the league, and the one that really stands out to me just because the numbers were the same, not necessarily the quality of the teams, is when you look at that Green Bay Dallas game that went 40-40 in week 3, I believe, or week 2, and you look at that game and you go, "Okay, yeah, the offenses both played great," which I agree. I think Justin Fields and Joe Flacco both looked fine. Neither of them had a turnover, both threw for about 230 yards, multiple touchdowns. Like, it was a good offensive game for everyone. I mean, Breece Hall looked good, like, Chase Brown looked good, Jamar Chase was fine. Like, offensively, it was a good game to watch, and we know the Jets defense is bad. Everybody knew that. And for me, the defense just completely lost this game because when you give up 39 points in the NFL, you can't be expecting to win a game.
No.
And you can say
Yeah.
that because we scored 38 that you were safe, but when your defense is giving up 39 points, especially when you don't have your gunslinger and Joe Burrow back yet, which we can talk about him not being in a boot later, but it's almost just like and with the amount of potential that, like, we can see in some of these guys, and I get it, it's a very young defense and with the exception of a few individuals, but, like, I honestly part of me is like, I think they are not great. I don't think they're a great unit as a whole, but part of me can't put all the blame on them because I do
Mm.
also believe in every aspect of that game, even when they were winning, and I feel like this is where my hot take is. I think the Bengals were outcoached yesterday.
Oh, totally.
They were
I think that's
outcoached
very fair. Yeah.
by one of the if not, I'd argue the Miami Dolphins are worse, even though they have a better record. One of the worst coaching staffs in the NFL who have not been able to have anything go right for them. We're supposed to start a completely different quarterback yesterday, but then Tyrod Taylor got hurt, so Justin Fields got gifted a start after he was going to get benched. And you get out coached by Aaron Glenn, who has vocally been adamant about the fact that he's struggled as a head coach so far this year. Like, if I'm sitting there as like somebody who supports the Bengals, but I'm not a diehard Cincinnati fan, I don't understand how Zach Taylor still has a job, personally. And if he continues to keep his job this year, if the players like there was a specific interview with Jamar Chase after the game in the locker room, and they asked him about it's happened multiple times over the years. They've had these big leads and they give them up. Like, what is the decision? And he goes, please do not ask me. Please, that's a Zach question. Go ask Zach because he should have the answer for you. And I think Jamar Chase deep down knows he doesn't have the answer. But that interview made it very obvious to me that he has completely lost the locker room, which, in my opinion, the next step should be he should be out the door.
Yeah, but he won't be. That's the other I mean, we've talked about this all season. It is Zach's fault. Usually a good indication of poor coaching is if you lose a lot of one-score games or blow leads like this. Bengals can't close. They've
Mm-mm.
never been able to close. In the whole Zach Taylor era, they've never been able to close. They can't figure out how to finish these teams out. They can't figure out how to beat teams you're supposed to beat ever. Ever. They don't win these games. You just got to be baffled if you're the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, Joe Montana doesn't win that game for the
Mm-mm.
Bengals for how bad the Bengals defense is. The Bengals offense looked great, and that's kind of why this loss feels so bizarre. It's just like you said, talk about Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow doesn't win that game. It
No.
doesn't matter. The defense stinks. 2 pass rush wins on 155 opportunities. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
All those guys are first round picks on the line. All of those guys are first round picks. Shamar Stewart, who used the first round pick today, was statistically the worst Bengals defender yesterday. You got to be kidding me, man.
Yeah.
In a
It's
win now
frustrating.
era with the Bengals, we said it and we made it. You know what? We sat here on this podcast and Seth too, and we talked about how we like to pick. After looking into it, we're like, we'll see how it pays off, and it's just not paid off
No.
ever.
But that's
McKinley
been the last
Jackson,
5 years,
I know.
with the exception of Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, which you knew was gonna work because they played together at LSU. Jamar Chase has literally never played with another quarterback since high school, so
Mm-hmm.
you knew that was gonna work, and but other than that, it's been misses across the board, and it's
Unless a pick is
frustrating.
free, this Bengals can't figure out how to do it. Unless it's literally right there. And they almost took Chase Young. Like that's the other thing too. Like there was real scuttlebutt that was going to happen
Yeah.
5-6 years ago when Burrow was drafted. So it's like I don't do everything that was really serious. I don't know. But
Mm-mm.
the draft picks have just not been good for 4 years now. Your draft picks, when you've had figure out the quarterback, they need to be hits along the way forever. For the whole time Burrow's here, you got to have 4 or 5 hits, and they've had 0. Chase Brown's the only one.
Yeah.
He's been great the last 2 games. The defensive draft picks have just not been anything close to first round grades. Miles Murphy, oh my goodness, man. for how many times you've had your opportunities. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, it does make sense. Actually, I take that back. It does make sense because we've just seen this time in and time out. This defense is not good. I don't know. Like Al Golden, I don't even know if he can fix this. I don't really know if it's his fault. You think he's the easy scapegoat. They just don't have guys. Like that's kind
Mm-mm.
of what it comes down to. If, like we said, if you can't run the ball, you can't pass the ball on offense. If you can't rush the passer, everything else is going to be so incredibly hard for
Yeah.
you on defense.
And
Incredibly hard.
there's one thing that really, like, I don't wanna say I'm hitting the long-term panic alarm yet, but there is some things about this whole situation that we're watching unfold that do concern me when you look at the financial aspect of everything and the position that the Bengals are in. One, choosing to extend Trey Hendrickson was probably a waste of money. Um,
Yeah, or just
and I
restructuring
feel
that deal.
horrible
Yeah.
saying that because I think he is one of the longtime great Bengals, will most likely be will always be a legend in the city of Cincinnati for what he has done. But for the absolute fit that he threw for the entire offseason,
Yeah.
it's a waste.
He's been hurt, which is just that's just
But
bad
you
timing.
also have to look at it as
I
he
know.
was also 31, 32, whatever he's at now. It just looks like a waste. And what you really need, if you're the Cincinnati Bengals, you need to bring in probably 2 guys in free agency that are experienced, that are veterans. You could have used a splurge on a big defensive guy who's in his prime, like a obviously they weren't even touching Micah Parsons, but another one who's been floating around the free agency world is Max Crosby once out of Las Vegas. Like you can't even go to get that. You are stuck because you paid Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, which I agree with both of those. The T. Higgins one complicates everything. And the fact that you reconstructed the Hendrickson deal and gave him a bunch of money, a large amount of your salary cap is going to 4 people. And right now, one of them's hurt. One of them is extremely underperforming. T. Higgins has barely gotten involved other than last week. The only one who's really living up to his paycheck right now because is Jamar Chase. So you're 1 for 4 on 75% of your salary cap. And there's not much that they can do about it for the next 3 to 4 years. So that's where I'm a little concerned is because we have a tendency of whiffing on draft picks, but yet really that's all you're going to be able to do unless you
Mhm.
trade one of these big 4 away, which they have no intent of doing.
T. Higgins, 1 reception, 1 target yesterday.
Hmm.
It was a touchdown.
Yeah.
Good for him. That part rocked. Another name that's really been bothering me the last couple weeks is Andre Yosavash. Yesterday, 3 targets, 0 receptions. Um, dropped a couple first downs on that last drive. It's a little frustrating from your number 3 receiver. I don't understand why Mitchell Tinsley has really not been involved, to be quite frank. I guess, yeah, he's the number 6, but we saw what he could do. He had the Joe Burrow stamp of approval in the preseason. I don't really understand why we've waited this long to sort of involve him. I keep going back to this defense, man, because I'm not blaming any of this on the offense. I'm blaming it more on just end of game play calling.
Yeah.
Well, because the Bengals had this game in control, and really the defense, I thought was actually kind of fine for 3 quarters. Like they just did the bend don't break thing, which really is kind of a slippery slope. Like you
It
can
is.
if you're gonna figure it out, like it just I don't know. It's a tough scene right
It's
now.
hard because obviously the players do have to take some accountability because you are the ones that are on the field. You're the ones that have to physically make the stop. But I think what a lot of people don't realize, and this isn't just with the Bengals, this can be with any sport either, but I feel like in the NFL it's more prominent, is the amount of control the players really don't have
Mm-hmm.
over like what play is being called. And when you have 2 guys in your green dot positions that are rookies, sometimes they don't know to change, like, sometimes they don't have the confidence to be like, "I don't agree with that based on the read that I see, let me change it to this." And you can see that that's missing right now.
Yeah.
And you don't have anybody who's willing to take authority and go, "I don't agree with that. I think we should do this." And it almost looked like they were following a script
Yeah.
in the 4th quarter. And, like, to me, like, that's why I was like, it was kind of like that impending doom where you're like, "It's coming, like, it's gonna happen. When is it happening?" It's like, you know something that the Bengals don't know as a spectator, and you're just like, "Oh, no." Like, because
Mhm.
again, like, you're completely powerless as a fan to stop that type of thing from happening. And I think certain guys on the field were also spectators into what's happening because some of them have absolutely no say into what they're being told to do.
Yeah.
Granted, do I need them to take accountability for missed tackles, not being able to get to the quarterback, losing people in routes? Yes. And I think most of them do. But one thing Joe Flacco said was we were just waiting for them to make a stop, and that didn't really happen. They needed one stop and they win that game.
Yeah,
And we
literally.
were one stop short. And it's obviously a learning experience. We're obviously extremely frustrated, but I'm interested to see is how that unit responds to that because obviously it sucks we lost this game, but it's over. Like this
Yeah.
week of the NFL season is over. We can't drag on it. We can't think about it. We can't keep bringing it up. It's what are you going to use from this experience so the same thing doesn't happen to you next week? Because this is really the first time this year that this defense has done something like this. Obviously, we're used to it from last year, but this is really the first time that it's been on display like this year. So how they respond is really important to me.
All right, let's take a quick break. We're going to talk Bears on the other side of the break here and kind of where the Bengals go for the rest here. We'll be right back. I don't really know why that did that. Sorry, we're back from commercial now.
Yeah.
I've never, I just paused it because I thought I had a minor emergency with my dog running with some dry cleaning. So I thought we'd send it to commercial, and then I did the unpause and it played the theme song again. So anyway,
All right.
this is Welcome to the Jungle with Caroline and Owen again. We just wrapped up talking about kind of what our thoughts were on the Bengals defensive struggles versus the Jets. Now we're in this part of the season. We kind of think it's over. After we said last week we're back, like I said earlier, I think the Bengals kind of botched this year, an opportunity to get back to 500. And they got the Chicago Bears on Sunday, who are kind of in this no man's land as well, where they need people on their team to play good to make their fans feel better about themselves. Yeah, this is probably still a winnable game for the Bengals if you're thinking on one side of the ball. Their offense should continue to improve. Bears got a pretty solid defense. They turn the ball over a lot. But like we saw the Jets do this against the Bengals defense. Brees Hall went nuts. The Jets had 500 total yards in offense. If the Bears offense needs a get right game, they got one coming on Sunday. It feels like.
Yeah, it's just interesting to me. I feel like one of the things where, again, like it's hard to say because the pass rush of the Bengals defense has been so abysmal for the entire year, but the Bears are very much a pass heavy team, which I feel like if you
Yeah,
look at the quote unquote strengths of this Bengals defense, it does kind of play into their hands just a little bit. I do think Caleb Williams has been playing great football as of late. I mean,
didn't
he
play good
does
yesterday.
didn't play great yesterday
Mhm.
against a battered Ravens secondary. So if you look at that aspect, you're like, okay, like maybe whatever. I do think he's having a better year than I think he's getting credit for the most part. Again, I feel like it's a very even matchup in terms of where the teams are in essence of like how their teams are feeling. I mean, the Bears do have a better record than the Bengals do, but it's just interesting. Like, I feel like it's hard for me to predict these games anymore because, like, we
Yeah,
go into a game like going, "Oh, they're gonna lose," and then they win, and then we're like, "Oh, this is a guaranteed win," and then they blow a 20-point
yeah,
lead.
we're
So
done doing the
it's hard for me to predict
tanking.
anymore, but
Yeah,
it's just hard because I feel like a lot of this, in my personal opinion now, is the coaching aspect of it, and I have 0 opinion on the coaching staff at all, honestly.
yeah. It just feels like this is one of those games where yeah, if the Bears are a pass heavy team, like go get your run game right. Brees Hall had been terrible for a month and just had one of his career games yesterday. Go figure out, get your run game right. I mean, there's like honestly, I don't see anything the Bengals defense There's just nothing the Bengals defense shown, and we look like idiots because we sit here week after week and are like, all right, we see little improvements, we see a little bit of improvements here and there, but it just gets wiped away because this pass rush is so bad. And like we gave Shamar his time to see if he's right. Yeah, he's recovering from an injury, but he's just been a non-factor. The Bears, I don't trust. I mean, Zach Taylor got out coached by Aaron Glenn yesterday. Ben Johnson should be able to run circles around him.
Yeah.
In actuality, then you got the bye after this. I mean, depending on what happens next week, I don't know who's around after the bye week because then also the trade deadline's coming up. Do they look seriously into trading Trey Hendrickson? I don't think that's the case because now he's hurt. He probably a business decision for him to sit out a little bit. I mean, kudos to him for coming back on Sunday. He definitely wasn't ready. He got hit 1 or 2 times and his hip was still hurt. So it's like, what are you going to do? The Bears, I think, are a solid team.
Mm-hmm.
I think
they play in one of the toughest divisions in football too. I think that's something that you can't overlook is that NFC North is loaded. Yeah. And that's where a lot of their losses have come from. So I think it's just very interesting that you have to put that into account that they play in my personal opinion, the toughest division in NFL.
Yeah, it would be really on brand if Bengals went out and played great and then went into the bye a game under 500 again. I think 5 losses, they probably realistically could only lose 2 more games, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And like I said, we're not looking ahead of the schedule anymore because we went on this whole thing with Jake Browning that said he could go 10-3. That didn't happen. I think this after results yesterday, it looks less and less likely that Joe Burrow will be coming back. I don't really see a reason for him to. Like I said, I didn't really see a reason for him coming back, even if the Bengals were kind of in it. So it just kind of feels like the Bengals are running out of opportunities here, and the game yesterday was winnable. I don't know how they lost that Vikings game now. They've looked awful since then.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that where
they lost the Vikings game because the one guy went off.
That's what
that was pretty much how we lost the Vikings game.
So the Bengals just lose these silly games all the time. Feels like Sunday is just next Sunday versus the Bears just might be another. You just can't trust the defense. Like there's really nothing you can do. You can't trust the defense. The offense looks like it's humming the same way it was last year. And it's kind of hard for that not to be the case. Well, we saw that earlier, how hard it is for it to be the case, how easy it is actually. But if you're not getting stops, it's not going to happen. Like really.
Yeah. It's interesting to me because the Pittsburgh game obviously was fantastic. But even when you look at that, I think when you look at the other 2 wins earlier in the year, it was almost like because the opposing team's offenses still hadn't gotten their groove yet. Mm-hmm. So the defense was able to capitalize on mistakes that some of these teams are not making as we get further down the road. Like the one that I look at is Jacksonville. Jacksonville has a little bit more. If we would have played Jacksonville like in this week instead of when we played them in week 2, I think we lose.
Yeah.
Like it's just obviously I think the Pittsburgh game was just a great all-around effort from the team, and especially on the offensive side of the ball, they were fantastic. But what that's like concerning to me is the games that we're winning is not necessarily because our defense is playing well. It's because the offense of the other team just isn't connecting. And it's not even because we're getting pressure on the quarterback and forcing them into mistakes, because that's not happening. Mm-hmm. It's literally like because they're missing opportunities.
Yeah. It almost seems kind of accidental.
Yeah. And like that's where I just get a little bit nervous. And again, like it is really hard for me to put a lot on these players because they are in an environment right now, which I believe there's 2 teams like this in the NFL, and us and the Miami Dolphins, where the players and the coaches do not respect each other anymore. And there is 0 relationship left outside of a professional one. And good teams cannot thrive if the entire team does not have a personal connection or wanting to fight for their head coach. Because you see teams that have that and how successful they are. Mm-hmm. Like you can even look at the Chiefs this year. Yeah, they started off rough, but they would fight for Andy Reid. Like, and you can see how good they are. Like the Lions, Dan Campbell is a great example of somebody who motivates that locker room no matter how hard it gets. He turned around that franchise because of his mentality, and Zach Taylor does not have it at
Yeah.
all.
Zach Taylor wasn't the turnaround. You know what I
No.
mean? He wasn't the turnaround.
And I feel
Marvin
like he's
Lewis
getting
was a
credit
turnaround.
for it.
As we're getting farther away, people are seeing that Joe Burrow obviously was the turnaround. Marvin Lewis came in here in the 2000s, and he kind of fumbled down the stretch, and he couldn't win the big games. But like he changed the Bengals. The Bengals were in the doldrums of the 90s, and he flipped that around. And he gets a lot of credit for that because he was just this master motivator that guys could get behind. And you see stuff like that in the locker room in old footage. And it just doesn't feel like that for Zach Taylor. He was just kind of this guy they put in place, and they got so lucky with Burrow and Chase that they were naturally able to fill in some gaps with that. So you're right. Say what you want. I'm sure the players, it's kind of hard not to be an athlete, not to get up for your coach. But if it's just been consistently like this, you begin to lose faith. I mean, you better than anyone. Like you've been in locker rooms all the time, I'm sure, where coach isn't getting the same respect as some of the athletes, and it's hard. And like you just got to give credit to these guys. They're being professional. Yesterday was the first kind of blip I saw. Like we praised Jamar Chase. I feel like he's really been such a great just asset to this team as a pro this year. It's really
He's been a true
interesting.
professional this year, which is
He's
not
been
something I ever
so
thought I would say about Jamar Chase, but he has
yeah.
been the epitome of a professional this year for them, which
It's
has been
just
really good.
awesome. Yeah, we saw like I said, we've seen him grow as a pro. It's just fun seeing these guys pan out. I think
Absolutely.
he's having he's not going to win the Triple Crown again this year. I mean, that'd be cool if he did. But like I just think he's going to end up having one of his better seasons, just like I don't know. He wants to win. He wants to win.
He's going to be like Joe Burrow was last year.
Yeah.
He's going to be the best receiver in football, and the Bengals are going to miss the playoffs.
Yeah. He just wants to win. The Bengals need someone that can get them to the mountain, and they don't
They
have
have
a
the
coach.
pieces. You can see it, but they are just not in the right they're not in the right environment for them to be successful. I feel like this offense is
Caroline,
getting used.
that
I
is
think
just the Bengals as a whole forever. Forever. 2 shout-outs. Ring of Honor yesterday. Dave Lapham, Lamar Parrish in the Bengals Ring of Honor. That's pretty awesome. Dave Lapham, long time Bengals radio announcer. He's been awesome. Cool to see the Ring of Honor happening again. I don't really know where that goes from here. We talked about that in the summer, but pretty neat that is happening again. Another quick shout out, Chase Brown, Samaje Perine. 2 big games. My grandpa loves Samaje Perine. I think it's really funny. He loved him when he was on the Bengals a couple years ago, and it was just kind of cool to see him have a vintage. Not that he's even been this awesome pro, but he just was like he had some awesome spurts yesterday that I thought were great. We'll leave those with 2 positives. Another positive is Joe Flacco just rocks, and Joe Burrow not in a boot. So I don't know.
It just sucks, like, because if you were able to pull this season back, his recovery seems to be going way better than expected.
Yeah,
and he would have been able to come back for the last 2-3 games, and it might not even be worth it, like you said earlier.
Yeah, I just don't see anything changing defensively. That kind of stuff doesn't just happen in the middle of the year. You know what I mean? Like, there's not going to like Chris Jenkins isn't going to go out there and just be like, and suddenly be 5 clicks above what he's been. That just is not how this works. So, and there's enough tape on everyone now too, where it's just like, this doesn't feel like anything's happening. So, I mean, I guess see what happens next week versus Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
Any game. I mean, I guess I was going to say winnable game, but after last week, I think any game ever in the NFL is winnable for either team. I thought there was no chance the Jets were going to go in the Bengals and Cincinnati win this game, but I don't know.
You never know. If the NFL as a whole has taught us anything this year, it is to expect the unexpected. Because I feel like that has just summarized this year as a whole. There's teams that are not good that were supposed to be great, teams that are great that were supposed to be horrible.
Yeah.
guys who have come out of the shadow realm to be having career seasons. Like, it's to expect the unexpected. I feel like I never know what's happening across the league, literally ever.
Yeah.
So I just feel like having that mindset and just hoping for the best, but not really knowing what to expect ever from any team.
That's the NFL. All right. Thanks for tuning into this week's episode of Welcome to the Jungle. Like we said at the top of this, Jets defeat the Bengals 39-38. Where do the Bengals go from here? Who knows? But we'll be tuned in next Sunday for Bengals and Bears. We'll be back with a recap of that game next Sunday or Monday night. We're working on some scheduling stuff between Caroline and I are getting busy with this time of year. So we'll see what happens. Thanks for tuning into this week's episode. As always, we love having you guys listening and interacting in the chats and leaving us comments, etc. So tune in for next week. More content. We'll bring you stuff as it happens. This has been Owen Caroline Palmer. Welcome to the jungle. See you next week.